All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 7th day of May, 2019. Well, today is a 7 day, so that's a magic number. The balance between dark and light, divinity, but mostly I think in terms of balance. So either, given that this is a Tuesday, it's a Mars energy day, so either we'll have the energy to remain in balance if we're struggling with that. Maybe it'll help us get there. Otherwise, it might help us balance out any Mars energy that might get away from us today. I started to write the moon information for the current moon, but I think I'm going to skip it and go to the next one. I got busy out in the garden yesterday, and we ended up waiting till the evening to finish planting the hops. And so they're all in the ground now. And I still have one more Vitex tree to plant. Technically, it's probably bush at this point, but I guess they do get to be a tree. But I don't think I'm going to let them get that big. But I have a medicine wheel to get my fan. I finally found a fan for when the hot flashes happen. So here we go, getting started early. But anyway, I used to have a labyrinth, and then I decided that it was just getting too difficult to weed, and I noticed that actually I had some cattails coming up in them. And so I just decided, oh, the heck with it, and I made a medicine wheel, and I was going to try to put specific plants in each spoke, but then I just gave up on that. It's a mess. It's just a mess. And so anyhow, now what I've done is I've put 3 elderberry plants in 3 of them. And then in the other 5, we put Vitex. And I had to order the elderberry. I never could get them to grow from seed. So I had to order 3 transplants from Strictly Medicinal, and they're great, and they're doing really well. But the Vitex, now I was able, it's also called Chase Tree. You use the berries, you tincture them for hot flashes. So anyhow, that's why I'm doing it. But the elderberry is great. You know, you can tincture the berry, or you could make a syrup, or you could make a wine or whatever. But a tincture taken every day during cold and flu season can help shorten the flu if you get it. Sometimes it does even more than that, and there's been a lot of testing done on it. So not just herbalists saying it. So it's sad though, isn't it, that we have to get credit from the allopathic side of things just so people will take it seriously. But elderberry tincture is wonderful. That and nettle. Nettle is great for allergies and to keep everything moving through the body and all of that. So, you have to think in terms of movement through the body, because when stuff doesn't move through the body and out the other end, basically, then things get toxic, and that's how illness happens. And so, unless it's some virus or something or some other pathogen you come into contact with, typically we get sick because we get plugged up. And the body's not assimilating what we're taking in properly. It's not excreting it properly, and so things get toxic, and the immune system gets affected, and all of that. And so, what I try to focus on, and what I tell other people to focus on, are herbs that actually keep that process going, like nettle and dandelion and chickweed and cleavers and red clover and comfrey, all of that, keeping everything moving through the body. Plantain is another good one. Just to and the best, of course, is fresh. Just to go out in your yard and go harvest a few things and bring them back for tea. Fresh is best, but dry is fine as well. Gather enough, for dry in the wintertime. But during the season, you can do everything fresh, and it's really better for you that way. It does taste a little different, though, when you're using fresh herb versus dry, so be aware of that. You'll be expecting a certain flavor, and you won't get it. It'll be different. It'll have a greener feeling to it. So anyhow, little herbal stuff, just get us started today. So let's draw the first card and see where we are. Yesterday, We had a little bit of change, maybe a little bit of loss, not able to see what we really have. And then in the end, we had and we had Laguz. And so I think it was Laguz. That was Laguz. And for the rune. And so it's basically telling us to be easy on ourselves and to flow, kind of go with the flow, maybe, but to not be afraid to maybe take a new direction and, or just see what you have in front of you. Let's draw the card and see if we're going to build on yesterday like we did last week. The last couple of weeks have been building on one another. So I kind of been keeping track of all of it so that we can see the pattern, maybe, if there is one. And as always, I'm taking the 13th card each time. Well, we have the Queen of Swords. Yesterday, now we started out with the Queen of Pentacles, so it'll be interesting to see if we get if we start out with queens each day, isn't it? That'll be cool. But here we see the Queen of Swords. Swords depicts the air element or intellect, reason, thought. So you see the clouds all around her. See down here at the very bottom right here, you see a little butterfly? She's raising her hand in greeting. Her sword is pointing to spirit. The trees here denote a little bit of wind. You see a bird flying up there. You see the stars in her crown. The Queen of Swords, my favorite queen, of course, is the Queen of Swords in the Thoth Tarot. I personally align well with the Queen of Swords, being a Libra. I'm going to show you what the Queen of Swords, if you aren't familiar with it, in the Thoth deck. But the queens in the deck, I think personally, the women in the tarot are the real power in the tarot. It isn't it's not the kings or the emperor or anything else. The real power behind the throne is the queen. But the thing about the Queen of Swords is she basically doesn't suffer fools. You know, she's the witch, she's the counselor, she's wise, she's somebody that she dispenses justice. But mostly, you know, especially being an older woman and a queen, she doesn't take, I mean, you know, who does this remind you of? Right? Yeah. Anyway. Oh, let's see, where is she? This is my favorite one, though, because she just does not suffer fools at all. Is this it? No, that's the princess. Why am I doing this upside down? I don't have a clue. I should just keep this one out, though, for when the Queen of Swords comes up. So when you're looking at court cards, though, oh, there she is. Yeah, I was right on the top, and I went from the bottom up. I don't know. There we go. There's the Queen of Swords. You can see she's got a sword in one hand. She's reclining in on her crystalline throne, and she's got a severed head in the other, which basically tells you about the Queen of Swords. I really think that I'm just going to have to keep this card out, you know, or on top always, just to show you, because it really depicts what this woman is all about. You know, you get to a point in life, I guess, where you become a crone, and you just, I don't know, you just don't want to take any crap anymore. And that's the thing about the Queen of Swords. And so maybe we're in a mood today where we're just not really willing to listen to any more nonsense. We've listened to all that we're going to, and we don't like what we're seeing. And there's a lot of stuff and nonsense going on, maybe. And she's just not happy about that. But anyway, about the court, if you're not aware, it's sort of a dual type of a card. You're looking at either the individual on the card itself, so in this case, an older woman in authority, or you're looking at her qualities. And again, we talked about that. But let's draw another card and see what she has to interact with. Because really, you have to have another card when you have a court card. You have to have something to interact with. We're not really sure. Otherwise, it's like, okay, well, it's this person or it's their qualities. And you really don't know, well, what has that got to do with anything? But let me set those cards down. Well, here we have the moon. The 18th card of the major arcana. The moon talks of mystery and change, rebirth, regeneration. It's the perfect card for a 7-day, even though it's a 9 energy, one of completion. So in a sense, the moon comes up, we've completed one cycle and we're about to start a new one. We see the lobster coming out of the pool, and that's regeneration and rebirth. We see the path going up to the mountain, or it could be, I think it's a path, it could be a little stream of water that fills the pool, but it's not blue. But you see the typical theme of pillars in the tarot. They're represented in different ways. Feminine type of an experience. I wanted to look at here: balance, choosing the middle ground, support, contrast, a separate gateway, boundaries. These would be inner boundaries, basically, or an entrance, balance, diplomacy. And here, when you have the Queen of Swords, that was one of the reasons I wanted to look at this, the balance and diplomacy aspect of pillars. We see the dark and the light represented by the two dogs. And I think what the Queen is asking for is a little bit of, cohesion, a little bit of balance going forward, and not so much, crazy talk all the time. It's also about justice. The Queen of Swords is about justice and about what's fair and what's right. Swords is about justice. Another really good card in the Thoth Tarot is Adjustment, and it really shows she's basically standing on her sword. She's balancing on her sword. So I think that really what we're talking about here is, we can talk about balance, but we're also talking about justice here. So the moon then could be represented also then by the scales, couldn't it? With the moon as the pivot point, and the dogs or the dogs could be the two pans of the scales. But I think what we're going to say here is that what we're dealing with today is issues of justice. Well, there's a couple of cards on the floor. I'll tell you what they were: the Fool and the Queen of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles is what we drew yesterday. But let's do the third card. Well, the Hermit. Yeah, this is definitely about justice and balance. So we have two cards from the major arcana, number one. We have two cards, both of them result in numerologies of 9. The moon is an 18 card, so that reduces to 9, but the Hermit itself is a 9, isn't it? Yeah. And you can see everything here. Let's see if I can do this right. Okay, you see the balance contained within it. You see the sword, okay? And then you see the pillars and the balance there that's implied. And then you see over here, you see the Hermit, who stands tall, stiff as a board, basically, his staff vertical, shining his light on the world. But the Hermit's about retreat, okay, in order to find that center, to find that center of source presence within. we've gotten out of kilter. Whether you're talking societally in our government, we've gotten so far out of kilter. We've got people that are refusing to comply with subpoenas. So that could be some of that. Things are so out of balance now. It's going to be difficult to see how they're going to come back. It's like the idea of lawlessness, where and chaos, where there has to be order. There has to be order in our lives. There has to be, I mean, have you ever been in someone's house like mine that's totally cluttered? It makes you nervous. It makes me nervous to be in my area at times because it's very, very cluttered. And if I clean it up, then I immediately calm down. Well, it's the effect of chaos on the psyche, whether it's external out, at your job, maybe at your job, you're just dealing with a bunch of nonsense with people. And you need to have somebody in a position of authority. If it's you, then take care of business here. Cut through the nonsense and bring things back into focus, bring things back into balance. If you're feeling out of sorts at all, then it's time to just retreat and to go within and to pull back all of your energy and to allow for the hermit within basically to bring you back into your alignment. We can emit or we can react to what is being emitted by others, basically. We don't understand, evidently, that where we don't remember. When we focus into form, we forget. Basically, we go through what's called the veil of forgetting, and we don't remember who we are. We don't remember that we're actually source presence focused into form, that we're the creator. The creator is all that is, and so if the creator is all that is, then everything is the creator, including us. And so we focus into form to experience life, and we forget to create that life. We spend a whole lot of time reacting. And when that happens, see, then when we're reacting to this and to that and to that and to that, and pretty soon we are scattered all about. And so what you have to do is you have to take time to retreat, and the hermit is telling us to retreat and to go within and to know what the truth is. If we're being sold a bill of goods, if we're being, and that was I think what was happening a couple of weeks ago. Was it a couple of weeks ago? Yeah, it basically, we were sold an illusion was what that one was about. And it was about basically getting back on course. And we've spent the last 2 weeks doing that, I think, or the last week we spent getting back on course. And I think that we started doing that again yesterday. So obviously it's an extended process. But I think with the Queen, in a sense, she's showing us the way, isn't she? She may not be extending her hand in greeting as much as she's showing us the way to justice and to fairness and to alignment. We get off track when we live in judgment, when we see people as the other, when we want to live in conflict and reaction. And we don't challenge the shadow side of the shadow side of self. We don't challenge that, do we? We just sort of give into it. It's basically giving into ego is what it's giving into, versus allowing spirit to be in charge of the whole thing. And what the hermit is telling us is spirit is where we need to be. We need to remain there and get out of the ego of all of it. But let's see what a rune has to say. I'm finally going to give in, and I'm going to put down landscape fabric in between my beds in the medicinal herb garden, but I have to go buy some because I don't have any. I just don't like that stuff. I mean, it's fine in the beginning, but then eventually it starts sticking up through everything. And if you don't keep putting the mulch on, I don't know. I just didn't want to put any of that stuff out there, but I don't think I have a choice. And things are growing everywhere, all over the place. And I mean, it's out in the middle of a pasture, basically. And so, you're going to have grass everywhere. So I have to go uptown and I have to get some more bark and I have to get some more I have to get the landscape fabric. And I'm going to be vigilant and I'm going to fix my herb garden. I spent all that time, most of the stuff out there, most all of it I grew from seed. Well, okay. But anyway, I'm actually going to do that, and then hopefully what I'll do is I'll do a video of it so you guys can see what it looks like. It's actually pretty cool. just focused on stuff I tincture with, make teas with. Well, we have Isa. Boy, when things are in synchronicity, they are really in synchronicity, aren't they? Well, this is the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark, master number for illumination. 7 and 13 I regard as master witch numbers, but that's just me. But inherent in this, of course, is balance and alignment. Basically aligns extremely well with the Hermit, but also the Moon and the Queen. Yeah, whatever's going on in our lives today, we need to just retreat and go within and like to see with source vision, through the eyes of spirit versus the eyes of ego. The eyes of ego are very judgmental, and we get into a really negative frame of mind, and it puts a cloud over everything, doesn't it? So for today, the next few days, just allow all of that to fall away. Call back your energy. Go within, chant Isa to achieve that inner balance. Chant Laguz to bring the energy back to you. Chant Isa to go into balance. And if you're out of control, chant Birkenau for calm. But basically, you do this to find the truth. The Queen is all about cutting through the crap of life. We're done. I mean, she's the witch, she's just done, the crone witch. We're just don't want to deal with anything anymore. It's like, keep your drama somewhere else. I don't need it. So, wow, that's really interesting. So I think that, if it just gets too much and you're just done listening to the crap, just again, you don't have to tell anybody. If you're at work, you can just get a little quiet and go within and just let everybody do their thing, and you don't need to participate in it. And then maybe when all is said and done and clearly nothing's going right, you can maybe speak up then and say, well, you might try this. And then maybe they'll be ready to hear it. When they've exhausted all of their options and they're totally confused and they don't know what to do anymore, that's when you walk in and you save the day. So anyhow, well, awesome. Well, anyway, thank you so much for coming by. I do appreciate it. If it's your first time, I'd love you to click subscribe. That'd be awesome. We're trying to grow our little tarot and rune family here, and I appreciate everyone coming back each day. I totally appreciate it. We do this Monday through Thursday, and then I take Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off and hang out with the hubby. And we celebrated our 40th anniversary last Sunday, so we've been together for quite a while. Anyhow, we like to do our shopping and we like to do stuff together. Well, we do stuff together every day, but because he's retired and I'm a writer, so I guess in a sense I'm retired too. Anyhow, technically not though, but anyhow, awesome. Check out the blog over at imsteppingaside.com. It's called Stepping Aside. It's a witch blog if you haven't been there. There's a materia medica on there. There's a little stuff on being an empath, on being an herbalist, some Reiki. There's a grimoire on there, and lots and lots of blog posts. And so anyhow, I'll be putting something up today, probably moon related. I might do another human design transits. That's kind of fun too. That's really interesting. I really like that because it makes use of the I Ching. So that's over there as well. And then I post these videos over in the side panel. I try to remember to do that every day. Every time I do a new one. Once in a while I get busy though. It's like, oh my God, I've got to go. So I publish really quick and then out the door I go. But anyway, well, cool. I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself. Be good to one another, and blessed be.